Hello, impactful parents. How are you? So, right now we are live and welcome. And I hope that you're joining us tonight. Tonight, I have another amazing guest, and this is Maii Vu. And Maii Vu is an empowerment coach for women. And I brought her on because not only are we going to talk a little bit in conversation style about our personal stories of overcoming obstacles, but she leads women through love and money so that they can have great abundance in their life. So she's an amazing asset for our community. Thank you for so much for just being on today with me.
Thank you, Christina, for your amazing introduction. And it's a privilege to be here with you. We connect briefly through a call, and I love her story so much. And that is why this topic is so meant for us to talk about.
Yes, we're going to talk about our stories. And I'm going to have you begin because you have such an powerful story that I know so many viewers can relate to that has an amazing ending to it. So I'm going to go ahead and let you get started and tell our audience all about it.
Thank you, Christian. Hello, impactful parents. My name is Maii Vu. I lead women to a fuller life and an overflowing love and money. And how do I do that? At the beginning phase, about 2 years ago, I was still a girl who have a dream that my top goal in life was just to get married to a wealthy husband and work for him and building on like family business, and that would sustain my life. That would give me certainty. But life had a better plan for me, and that was when I was about 4 months pregnant. I discovered a secret that he's been hiding from me, and that crossed all of my boundaries. And I decided no longer I wanted to be a model for my girl, because I knew that time I have a baby girl. I no longer want to model for my baby girl that you have to stay with someone who doesn't respect your boundary, who is not honest to you, who doesn't love you fully. And I want to give her an opportunity to actually be better in life. And by that, I have to be the first model for her life. So with no money, very little money. All money I have was at that time was the money that they give me for the baby. I invest in myself, started to become a coach, initially helping women getting the ring and healing their relationship, because I was really good at that. And gradually I moved into life coach, where I help women look deeper within themselves, within their emotions, and how can they connect it back to their feminine connection so they can manifest and attract better things in life without much resources. Because I come from Vietnam. Right now I'm living in Sydney, and everything that about 2 years until now, it's pure manifestation. And I don't think it would have any better way to live my life. And when I discovered that gift, I want to pass it back to a lot of other ones. So here I am, writing a new story for my life, and co-create with the universe for a better future that was beyond what I can imagine myself when I was 26 years old.
But what a change. I mean, you were on one path and you had to make a decision to completely flip it around and do something different that you knew probably deep down that it was going to be better for you. But that is
Yeah,
such a
scary.
difficult decision
It
to
is
make.
scary. Yeah.
Congratulations to you for making that choice. That's really amazing. But tell me a little bit about, I mean, it's tough. So how do you come to that choice? Did you hit a rock? Some people hit rock bottom. Some people just like can't sleep at night and get an epiphany. Like what happened for
Mm,
you?
I I remember that it was a pattern for me to be so dependent on other people, emotion, financially and emotionally. It was my dad that I was dependent on. It was my job that I was dependent on, and it was this guy that I was dependent on. And I saw that it wasn't freedom to be dependent emotionally and financially on someone else. That when I realized what he was doing behind me, I immediately leave the relationship, because I no longer wish to stay where the toxicity are. And I went to a hotel room. I went to a hotel room. I was 4 months pregnant. No one around me knows that. My parents doesn't know. Only my coach at that time and one of my best friends, she used to live in the same house as me. She knew. And during that moment, I think I was trying to run away from this nightmare because I have no idea what to do with my life after this. But at that time, I think it was the baby that really gave me the strength. And the only thing I remember at that time was I decided what kind of life do I want to have for my baby? Do I want her to grow up and say, Mom, I have to stay with this relationship even though it doesn't feel fulfilling because this is the only guy I know that I can love? Do I want that life for her? And I realized that I don't want that life for her. And I want her to be able to say yes to her desire, be able to go there, be big, travel the world, have everything she wants. I wish the best for her. And I realized that that best I have to give to myself first. Otherwise, she would wake up and grow up and see no one around her be able to do that. Then she cannot do that. She cannot allow her to do that. So it was my baby at that time that really gave me the strength. And it was her as well that led me to a journey really deep down to heal so much from the core, undo a lot of program and conditioning so that I get to be here free from that train of the past. So that was my story.
It's so difficult though to make that pivot. And that's the what happens in just about everybody's hardship story is you hit a point where you have to create a pivot, where you have to make a choice. And it's
Yeah,
either stay in where you're at or turn it around, and creating that pivot and making that choice is so difficult, parents. I know it is. But if you're in a situation where you are just not happy with your life and you are, it's in your gut and you can feel it, um I encourage you to dig deep and work on that pivot. And one thing that Mai said that I completely agree with is I feel like when you are a parent, a lot of
yeah,
times it is so much easier to make the pivot because you
yeah.
no longer are living for yourself. You have
So
other people
beautiful.
in your world. And it's great to hear that your baby did that for you. And it makes you just, it opens your eyes to something larger than you. And that's sometimes
Yeah,
what we need in order to make that pivot. For me, I spent a lot of time crying in my closet when I got my divorce. It was something that was really, really difficult for me to accept. And again, you hit a point, a pivot where I never wanted to be a divorced. I never wanted that for my life. I was supposed to live happily ever after. Everything was supposed to be beautiful, and it just didn't work out that way. And sometimes that's what happens in your life, and you have to make that choice. Am I going to continue to sit there and cry in my closet and feel sorry for myself, or are you going to pick yourself up and pivot? And for me, though, the hard part was not making the choice because I knew the choice I had to make. I have 4 children, as people here on the Impactful Parent know, and they are looking at me and looking for me for guidance, and I wanna be able to role model for them good relationships and that something horrible can happen to you, but it doesn't have to define who you are. And so the
exactly.
choice to pivot for me with my kids was easy. It was after that that was a lot more difficult. It was, "Now what?" Okay, I made the choice. Now what? You feel lost. You feel just like, "What am I gonna do?" And it is probably one of the most scariest points in your life. And if you are in that point of pivot right now, for anybody who's listening, I want you to know that you are not alone, that it is you are in a very normal place to be probably as terrified as you are. I know I was.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was
Mai, what do
too.
you think? You had
It
to
was
be
like a
scared,
month of
right?
crying. Yes, it was. I think I went through. I love how you brought it. Like now what? Because the victim always asks why me.
Mhm.
But the victor, the one who recreate their life, who rewrite their life from a very different point of view, ask now what? It's a really brilliant question to ask instead of like, why me, why me? Because your brain always going to find the reason when you ask that question. But if you ask now what, your brain is very smart. It's going to give you the solution, the creative solution that you cannot pick your brain to really see on this conscious level. But if you keep asking, how can I get out of this? Now what can I do to get out of this? Then your brain will give you something very different. So I really go through that dark time for like, it was like a week in that hotel where I hide from the world, but I no longer could hide anymore, and I have to go back. And I went through a numbing phase. Actually, at the beginning, it was really numbing. I couldn't cry. I can only wake up and not eat so much, and still cannot feel anything. I don't cry. I didn't cry. I didn't feel any sadness, and it wasn't healthy. But it was the numbing phase where I kind of like have to use my logical to plan, okay, where do I give birth to the baby? What do I want to do with the baby after birth for the 3 months? So I kind of have to logically plan all of that before I can start like surrender and like really go through that dark space. And that dark space for me came actually after I gave birth to the baby, where everything go out of you. So you were, now I can fully feel my feelings and I can cry. And I think it was with that depression and post-trauma of birth, it was about 4 months where I was really, really going to deeper dark space, cry every single day, always blurt out, and I wouldn't be able to recognize myself, but it was necessary for me to release that emotion.
You have to. You have to
Yeah,
have that time of it's mourning is what it is. You're
yeah, it's
mourning
grieving morning.
the the loss of whatever you had planned on, and you
Yeah,
have to let it go. And in order to let it go, you have to release all that emotion out so that you can move forward. So if you're in the mourning phase right now and you're listening to this and you're trying to pivot and you're crying and just again, it's a part of the process. That's okay. Let it out. The choice though is just you got to know when it's time to stop crying. And it might be a week, it could be a day, it could be a couple of months. But you know when it's time to stop crying and pivot. And then I think the next thing is baby steps.
mm,
Just baby steps, because baby steps is progression. And you got to start
yeah,
making little tiny choices every single day that's going to help you get to the goal of wherever it is that your now what is taking you to.
yeah,
And it's those tiny baby steps, guys. And um, you can't expect the huge change overnight. So for me, I decided to go back to school. I went back to go
mm.
get my master's degree, and I had no idea what I was going to do with it. No idea. But I knew that I had to do something for myself, and I knew that I needed to start moving forward, and I didn't want to stay stagnant. So I just picked a major, didn't know what I was going to do, went back to school, and I ended up changing my major halfway through. But it didn't matter. At that point, I was just trying in baby steps to create a momentum.
Mm.
And that's what you just got to do. So that was my first baby step. What did you do?
I love how you say it, Krishna. And for me, clarity come from action, and your example was clearly that clarity come from action, where we were like crying in the closet and we were sitting in that darkness. All what we want to know is what's tomorrow, what's on the plate tomorrow. Like, how can I get, like, I have a desire, like maybe I want to earn this much money, maybe I want to get married again, or maybe I want to have this perfect life. You have a desire, you know that in your heart, but like from where you are to where you want it to be, there isn't a clear light, right? There isn't a clear light that connect right away, like a highway that you go, you take that one direction, you go there, and everyone will always look for that. So what I want to encourage you, just like Christian said, baby step was just start doing something that moves yourself forward. And clarity come from action. Write it down. Like let people like write it down. Clarity come from actions. Whatever action you would take, it would lead you to the knowing that, oh, I like this or I don't like this. Maybe I need to change to something else. So for me, the first step to get out of that was I have no idea how to make the money, but I would love to earn the living so that I can sustain my life better for my baby. And what am I good at? I was a brand manager for luxurious hotels, so I was pretty good at branding and hotel launching, resort launching. But I asked myself, how can I like what I really am good at? And I knew that I have a heart. I knew I have a heart that wanted to share everything that I know to help other people seeing their life in a different way. And I knew that I have got myself the ring before I would able to be able to do that to help other women. And I start with that. But it wasn't the end for me. It wasn't the end. And everyone was always afraid, like, if I start with this, if maybe I got this first cleaning job, or maybe I got this study master, maybe I got this next call center job, it's going to be the end for me. No, it's just the beginning. And that would give you the resource, that would give you whatever you need to move to the next step. So I took that. I knew that I wasn't meant to just be a relationship coach. And here I am starting to becoming more like a motivational speaker. But I started where I knew that I had to make that first decision to move forward. Same as you. I love that.
Yes. Yeah. Because all these journeys, they're all very similar. We just have different paths, but the hills are the same, the valleys are the same. It's
Yeah.
so interesting to hear everybody's journey. And these are journeys, and that's really what they're called, because it will take time and it will change you. It will it will put you into different perspective once you get to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
I'm going to also suggest, as we talk about, as you go through this journey, and if you're in this journey right now of your own pivot, that don't do it alone. It's such a lonely place to live in this new journey and to switch your life, but try not to do it alone. There are support networks out there. Create a tribe, create a community, or you can do is also hire coaches, just like Maii and us. Like, that's what we do. She's an empowerment coach to help you with that. I'm a parenting coach to help you work with your children. I mean, find people who can support you, who are going to be your cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And not so much for Maii yet, but I feel like with time, your children will also be your biggest cheerleaders. I know for me, they were. I'm so grateful to my children. I can't tell you, they saw their mom rise.
Mm.
And I'm proud of myself for that. And I'll say it.
Yeah.
I'm not shy about it. I'm very proud of myself for
And you should
rising.
say that more.
And because I know that I could have made a different choice. But I didn't. And I'm also proud because it was not easy. And anything that's not easy, you should be proud of. And it was not an easy journey. And but my children were literally my biggest cheerleaders, my biggest fans along the way. When I was in school and trying to do homework, we made it a routine to sit at the table and do homework together every night. We
Wow.
couldn't interact with each other because we were all too
Um,
busy.
but it was so bonding. Like you were doing something together. It was that moment where they need you. I just want to add something in because your story is so beautiful that people who have children always use their children as an excuse, like I'm too busy with the baby, or like I have to be there physically for them, so I cannot study anything else. But I would say, please use your excuse as a reason for you to pivot. Stop using them as an excuse for you to stop where you are and let the water stagnate, because if the water stay inside of a pond for so long, it's gonna stay, right? It's gonna sink, and the flow of life is that you have to move along with it. And because if you have seeing that, oh, because my baby is under one, I was having a perfect reason that my baby was under one when I started. I have to breastfeed her. I have to like always sleep with her. No one took care of her because my mom wasn't around. So I have all the perfect reason to say now I'm giving up on this. It's too hard. I cannot sleep. Like I remember at the beginning, I sleep for I couldn't sleep for more than 2 hours because that was how baby wake up and all of that. So I sleep 1 hour. I wake up 30 minutes earlier than her. I do some reading, then I feed her, or I wake up an hour earlier than her usual wake up so that I can study. So it wasn't really easy, but it's so much worth it because they see that you don't use them as an excuse to stop, but they see that you use them as a reason for you to change to a better version of yourself, and they'll be so proud and they would feel the motivation to be the same themselves, right?
That's right. And remind yourself, keep talking to yourself to say, hey, this isn't forever. Like waking up every 2 hours with your baby does not last forever. It's
Yes.
the season that
It
you're
felt like
in.
forever, but
And so, when you make these choices to make those baby steps, it might be super hard. And when you don't want to do it and you want to give up, you just have to keep reminding yourself, this isn't forever. I can do this. I can do it one more day. And the next day, you can do it one more day. And the next day after
yeah.
that, you can do it one more day.
I
And
remember I remember I have to remind myself that this is not my forever future. I just need to get to the next day, and tomorrow I choose to be in gratitude again. So another tip for anyone who's staying in the dark right now is choose gratitude. Like if you can wake up and literally counting every single thing, I'm grateful for the paper, I'm grateful for the money to have electricity in my house, I'm grateful to have flowers around, I'm grateful for have a house that can provide me shelter. If you can stay in that gratefulness, gratitude every single day at the beginning moment, you would find your day is so much easier to get by, right? So much easier.
oh my,
What was the
that's a
best tip on
perfect
that?
suggestion because gratitude is huge. I mean, it really can change your life to wake up every morning and count even one thing that you're
Yeah,
grateful for. It can change your life. And to remember that, I feel like even right now, we're all stuck at home, we're in a pandemic, the whole world. And I hear a lot of parents go, oh, I'm at home with my kids, and they don't look at it as an opportunity, they look at it as a hardship.
no
Now, is it a
problem.
hardship?
Yeah,
Absolutely, it's a hardship. But you can't focus on the hardship. You have to focus on whatever part of it you can be grateful for. And when you do that, it will shift. It's about talking to yourself in ways that serve you instead of ways that are going to bring you down. And if you're in this state of huge change and pivot, as a lot of us are right now, especially because a pandemic even maybe have forced you to pivot, um, it's that much more important to count all the things that you can be grateful for. It really, really is. I love, just absolutely love that suggestion.
yeah. It saved my time at that time. I knew that I had to cry, and I knew that I have to go through this dark phase. But I knew that it doesn't last forever. It does feel like it's eternity when you are in that dark phase where you were like losing your power and you feel so helpless, you feel hopeless. But then when things started to pick up again, you build that gratitude, because when you are in that gratitude, I'm about energy, right? So your energy is going to be shifted higher, a little bit higher next each day. And within 30 days, you are like 30 point higher. Within 3 months, you are 100 point higher, and you are at a very much different level of energy. And when you are vibrating higher, you attract much better things. You attract easier money. You attract a lot easier children. Like your children gonna like really listen to you easier. You attract better job conditions. And so gratitude is really something. If nothing works, choose gratitude.
Absolutely. And the community can help you be more accountable for that
Yes,
gratitude. When you
absolutely.
find that tribe, go get together. And every time you do, start. your conversation with something you're grateful for. Make
Mm.
yourselves accountable for each other. It will really help when you find those people, and hopefully you find people who can you can relate to, people you can aspire to, people who that could support you through this huge transition. It's so important. The gratitude, the community. I mean, I can't and the baby steps. Those are my three huge suggestions. What else would you suggest is for those viewers out there? I know there's many of you who are going through your pivot. So, what else do you think that you could tell? If you could go back and give yourself some advice, what would you say?
Yeah, I love your three suggestions. It was something I used during those time as well. So for me, the first thing I would say is accept that I'm going through this, because part of the reason we cannot move through anything because we try to fight it. We try to fight it because it felt so hard. We didn't realize that we are not fighting with our ex-husband, or we are not fighting with our parents. We are not fighting with our children. We are fighting with an emotion that is still pending inside. That emotion can come from your childhood, that can come from the previous relationship, can come from previous workplace. But we kind of like always either running away from that emotion or fight it, and that is wasted energy, because the only thing you have to do is to make friends with that and just start allowing that to come up, to come out. You cannot move towards if you don't move through things. You cannot move towards if you don't move through things, right? It's like a quote that really woke me up. So I first had to accept that this is where I am at. It doesn't mean that I'm here next year and the year after. And in fact, because I accept that, I pivot so much faster. Within a year and a half, I get my life back and become so much better than who I was before. So accepting would always lead you to liberation. The second thing I always remind myself is gratitude every single day. Just like how I said, choose anything. Like, I'm so grateful that at least right now I still have my baby. A lot of the people have like problem with the baby that was sick or that wasn't able to be capable functioning themselves. So I'm like so grateful that I have a baby that is so healthy, so smart, and growing with so much ease. And I keep focusing on that, and I see such a gift from her, and I feel joyful whenever I think of her. And that joy sparks onto another thing, and I can see how grateful I am for my parents, how grateful I am for my ex for leaving me to have a different path myself. And so when I live in gratitude, life gives me back a lot more, because when I'm thankful, life gives me so much more. Like, gratitude is number one relationship skill I teach every woman I know. Because when you can be grateful for the men, then men want to give you more. And same with your universe. When you can be grateful for your universe wants to give you more. Just say, like, if you have two children and one was so thankful, like you give them a cake, and one was like, oh, thank you, mom, I love it so much, would you want to bake more for her? Of course, right? But the other one was like, okay, great, just this. Do you feel inclined to like give more to them? No, right? Even though we love them equally. So gratitude is something that would always lead you to more in life. So focusing on that, choose anything in life to be grateful every single day. And the third thing I would say is to really find help. And what for me was really helpful was having the guidance, a mentor, having a community who I know speak my language, who I know that was so loving and understanding this way of living, like living consciously, choose your emotions, be aware of things in spiritual connection. And that give me the safetyness, because if you keep surrounding yourself with the same people, you're going to be functioning on the same way. You are the average energy of 5 people around you. And if you don't change, you don't consciously choose that those 5 people, you're gonna repeating the same thought conversation, repeating the same way of functioning and behavior, and you're gonna repeating the same story. So I have to be consciously choose who I'm surrounded with. And that is like I choose a higher level thinking mentor, a much high vibe community, and that was really something that helped me have that accountability. Whenever I was like, I'm so down today, I go into that group, I share, I'm feeling down, please help me, like please remind me that I can move through this day. And people give me love, people give me prayer, and that instantly make me feel much more heard and seen. So if you are out there and you feel so lonely on this journey, I would really suggest you to join our group, because if you feel lonely, it is just because you choose to. There's so many supportive groups out there, so many women and people like us who do things to help you getting your life easier. And if you still choose to do it alone, it's really sad, right? It's really sad because everyone was like getting the hand out there, and you choose to not take it. So I want you to rethink it again and really looking into like where else can you get help from? How can I ask for help? That was the third thing that I was really emphasizing on. How can you get for help? How can you get the help that you needed to move forward? And that comes with mentorship, community, and accountability. And that's usually the three power that I always say.
Your story is inspiring and you have so much that you can offer. I'm just really happy that we got together and that I
Yeah.
met you. So I thank you so much. Can you just tell the audience if they want to reach out and they want to contact you for more your services or any groups that you have, how can they do that?
Thanks, Christina, for this one. And when we get together, I really love your story as well. Having 4 children, was able to pivot through your time. I really admire that. I always say that to Christina, that I admire how you can do it. And that show me that there's a strength in you. And that strength is so powerful. And with this, you can absolutely create anything. So it's such a pleasure to talk to you, your audiences. And you guys can get my free gift. It's 5 days to manifest your dream life. So I talk about ego, love. I talk about how can you start using that attraction power inside of each one of us so that you can create and attract to you a much better life. And I also talk about how can you process through the dark time, the dark emotion. The first day I talk about that. In order to make space for the new thing. So all of that is in the maivucoaching.com/manifestation. So MAIIVU coaching.com/manifestation. You can find that and download that free gift. And you can follow me on Instagram and tag me if you have any problem or you have any feedback or you have any thoughts from this talk. Tag me at empower.news. And I'm here on Facebook at Maii Vu as well.
If you're a parent and you need help, make sure that you reach out to me, the Impactful Parent, and I'm also on all these social media channels. We are here to help you. Audience,
Yeah.
I can't express that enough. That's what we do. We're here to help people, and I think that Maii has an amazing program. You definitely should check it out. If you're a woman who's looking for more abundance in your life, you're looking for help with your money and love, she's a great resource. If you're looking for parenting help because you want to make a better connection with your children, or maybe you just need some parenting advice through all those tough years that you need help for, I specialize in school-age children, especially those teens and tweens. So check us out. Come and
Those are
find us,
tough.
follow us, and get a freebie. She's offering her freebie. I have tons of freebies on my website, which is theimpactfulparent.com. Join a 30-day challenge where you connect with your child one question at a time. It gets sent directly to your inbox. It's absolutely free. There's no reason not to do it. Just check us out. We're here to help. Come join our tribe. Thank you so much for everybody for watching. And thank you, Maii, for just being here. I just really appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone, and I wish you a lovely evening or day wherever you are. I would love to read your comment as well. What you learned from this one, share this or tag us on Instagram or comment on the Facebook so that we know what we have touched your heart on, and that would be a wonderful gift for us to read. Thank you, Christina, once again.
Yeah, thank you. Good night, everybody.